Welcome to this episode of Rewind and Press Forward, the podcast for those that are starting over in your season 2.0. And if you're looking for a little guidance, a little help, a little inspiration, this is definitely the place to be. Today, we have this week's guest, Mr. Larry Gilreath. He is the owner of Herf Harmony. It is a cigar-based subscription service. And before we dive into Herf Harmony, Brother Larry, why don't you walk us through where you came from career-wise before you decided to jump into what you're currently doing? Give us your background.
That's fair. My career is kind of rooted in all the way back in middle school. So I grew up, I spent half my life in Omaha, half my life in Fresno, California. And in Fresno, there was a middle school called Computech. And the unique thing about Computech is it introduced computers into every particular part of the curriculum. And so in 7th grade, 8th grade, I really got a taste for computers, even to a point where, at one point me and my buddy AJ got arrested because we were able to hack into the local credit union from the computer lab.
How old were you when you did this?
That was 7th grade, man.
7th grade?
7th grade. It was fairly easy back then.
Okay.
And so computers actually, it scratched the itch. I am a natural builder, and computers gave me an opportunity to build in a way that didn't require me to have a hammer in my hand all the time. And so you fast forward, I get to college, I start doing my own consulting company out of high school, going into college, working in conjunction with, a couple of other brothers within Omaha who had their own IT firm. And then after that, you start to butt around the Y2K bug. And so I had a couple of computer science professors who kind of pulled me in to do consulting for Y2K for some of the larger companies within Omaha. And that landed me at, believe it or not, Woodman of the World, where I got to be a data communications tech. So I got to do more than just build programs and do micro programming and start to run cables, understand networking.
So now, was this a natural thing for you, just the computer geeky techie side? Did you have a mentor? Did you have an influence? Was there an influence, or that was just your thing?
I've always enjoyed math.
Hate math.
Yeah.
I hate math.
And, when you enjoy math, you see the beauty in the numbers that computers bring. Okay. Like I used to write love notes in binary.
Who the hell was on the other side receiving them?
Yeah. It was just one of those things where you give it to her and she's like, I don't know what the hell this says. I'm like, one day you will. She never did.
You impressing her with your big brain.
Exactly.
Girl, I can do your homework. Come over here.
But while at Woodman, Microsoft came calling. And Microsoft said, hey, you could choose Charlotte or Dallas, but we want you. We have this product that is all focused on Unix, services for Unix and services for Novell. And you have that skill set that we need to go support the product. And so I said yes. I moved from Omaha to Dallas. Worked for Microsoft for 12 years, had a myriad of roles there, some really cool roles. At a moment, I was part of the Active Directory team. I got to help build some of the key features around Active Directory Federation services. I got to own identity and access management for the whole U.S. education pre-sales technical team. And then I got to be one of the first guys doing Windows Azure for U.S. education as well. And so Windows Azure at that time was kind of in its infancy. Mm-hmm. It was very hard to get universities to commit to it when there was this behemoth in the market called AWS, Amazon Web Services. And I took a few L's, but one of those L's was at the hand of a really close colleague. Her name was Ann Merrihew. And Ann and I worked together at Microsoft for years, and we had huge success together. And when I took that L, I was walking to the parking lot just completely gassed that, man, I can't believe I lost this bad. And leaning on my rental car in the parking lot was Ann Merrihew, laughing with tears in her eyes, laughing. And she said, look, Microsoft doesn't listen to customers anymore. Come over to AWS. So I did. Yeah, I spent 12 years at Microsoft. I spent 12 years at AWS. And at AWS during that time, it was so young that I actually got to participate in a lot of the growth and development. Heck, I run into...
So you were there when they were just still doing books. Well, before they even got to their whole...
Cloud had been launched. And so if you look at, AWS now has upwards to somewhere between north of 170 to 200 cloud-based services. When I started with AWS, they had 17.
Damn.
Yeah. And so it was a great time. I got to build a lot of cool stuff. I got to work with a lot of cool companies. But one thing that always impressed me were companies that said, this is what we do, and we want technology to merely enhance what we do. And there's a significant difference in that, because you'll see like the GEs and the Samsungs of the world say, you know what, we want to create a smart refrigerator. And we want to pivot from being this company that does refrigerators to really being a software company. And you look at that and you say, yeah, that's probably not the right type of pivot. And then you look at a GE, and GE says, you know what, we're an industrial products company. We make power plant controllers. We make train engines. We make jet engines. We want software to complement what we do. We want to be able to better track predictive maintenance on parts and things like that. We don't want to become a software company. We just want to have software and cloud-based services enhance what we're already good at. And those are the companies that I really stood in admiration of. And that's what led me to do Harmony.
I was just about to say, so what was the catalyst? What made you get out of that then? Was it you were tired of it? Was there layoffs? Was it just not for you? I mean, like, for everything you just said, and you worked 24 years in the industry, what made you say, I don't want to do this anymore, now I want to start Herf Harmony?
Yeah. I wish it was that clean cut. Like, I sat down and said, I don't want to do this anymore. The reality is my mom got sick.
Okay.
She ended up with stage 4 breast cancer, and it spread and metastasized into her bones. And so I got to, and I say I got to because it really was a privilege to spend that time with her as she was slowly kind of diminishing and dying. And what I found is I was talking to my family about this hard thing of watching this woman you love slowly die. And my family said, you actually need a passion project. You need something that will take some time away from you sitting there and watching this. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I like cigars. And there were a couple of situations where I couldn't get the right cigar, and that led me to say, you know what, I'm gonna do the same thing that I admired other companies to do. I'm going to take technology and have it enhance my cigar experience. And so that's when I decided I was going to lean into Herf Harmony. I built a model, an AI model, that helps me kind of correlate cigars based on flavor preference and link them together. And then I thought that was going to be it. But where I was at AWS, when I left, I was a global director. I had 217 people in my org across 42 countries, which meant I was doing 16-hour days, Monday through Thursday. Time zones, roll, it is what it is, right? And so I couldn't continue to be there for mom.
Right.
And continue to do that job. And so I walked away, but because I'm a builder, because I've been building with computers all the way since 7th grade, when I was at my most stressed and most hurt for watching my mom, I needed to build. And Herf Harmony gave me that chance to build something.
So what was the first few weeks like when you actually, you're done, 2 weeks expired, whatever it is, you wake up, there's no longer AWS. It's just Herf Harmony, you, and what's going on. What were those first few weeks like adjusting from reporting to something to now being reporting to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely insane.
Fair enough. Did you feel like it's when you break a habit and you're starting a new routine, I guess you should say, and you're trying to figure out exactly what is that routine?
Yeah. I didn't break the habit or the routine in those first 2 weeks. And so I was still waking up 5:45, 6 a.m. to work out, have a cup of coffee, and get ready to get on conference calls. Only problem is at 7:30, 8 a.m., there were no conference calls to get on. And I just found myself just kind of in limbo, walking around the house, annoying the family.
Go do something.
Yeah.
Don't you got something to smoke or try? Just go outside, rearrange the grass. Just get away from us. I remember that.
It was a clear eye opener of how much time was spent focused on work energy and not focused on all the other things I could be doing. And it took me my first month to get to a point to figure out what the heck I wanted to do. I can tell you at the end of 2 weeks, I decided I was going to travel. And so I probably spent, week 3 through 7 on the road somewhere. Just
out.
Yeah, just gone.
Would you say, how long do you think it took for you to get into a rhythm?
It probably took me about 45, maybe 60 days.
So it wasn't overnight. It's not automatic. Change takes time.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. Yeah. And I speak from the perspective of somebody sitting here with a notebook being like, okay, man, I'm trying to put my blueprint together. What do I need to do? And I think that everybody has that instant gratification thing stuck in their craw that it happens overnight.
Yeah.
The only thing that goes bad overnight is credit. I'm just saying. And it takes forever to get it back right, but that's a whole nother
credit,
episode.
Relationships. I can think of a couple of things.
Man.
But I will say this. I'm blessed. I have 5 older men that I call my board of directors for life. And when I have critical life decisions, those are the people that I talk to about it. Just to get different perspectives from individuals who have been here for a long time.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to, man. What did you do for mentorship? What did you look at for guidance as you transition from somebody else to yourself?
Yeah. Well, I looked to them. And one of them said something very profound to me that was an eye-opener. He said, you'll have your routine when you figure out who you are. Mm. And I was like, well, I know who I am. I mean, what are you talking about? All I did was lose a job. And he said, the reality is your job is such a huge part of who your personality is, who your persona is. And when you lose that part of it, now you have to figure out who you are and fill that gap. And that was an eye-opener. Once I sat down, and I'll never forget, because I sat down in Los Angeles at the observatory at sundown and said, God, who the heck am I? And as the sun went down, God did not answer me. But the next morning, I had a very profound, vivid dream of who I was. And I said, you know what? My routine and where I'm going to put my time and my energy is going to be focused on that person that I had in my dream.
Isn't that crazy how he speaks to you?
Yeah.
When you least expect it, he speaks to you, and it happens in so many different ways.
It does. It really does.
So I think the thing is that when do we decide to listen? A lot of times you get that little voice in your head that you can't explain, and it's telling you a lot of things, and you keep ignoring it, and unfortunately, and we share, and this is going to be an episode that I'm going to want you back on with me and Jamond. When you share something that happens that just really moves you a lot to move, and at first I felt guilty where it took something tragic for me to actually launch this, to do that, to do the things because that person asked me to do it. Like, hey, make sure you get this done. Don't just talk about it, be about it. And I think we ignored that little inner voice because of fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
But
that term frustrates me.
Fear of the unknown?
Fear of the unknown. Let's call it what it is. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's fear of failure.
Better said.
It's fear of failure.
Better said.
And part of what I love about my board of directors is they've seen me fail. They've seen me take shots and fail tremendously at work and outside of work.
There would be no failure without any effort, though. At least you tried.
At least you tried.
At least you tried.
At least you tried. You know what failure actually does? Failure is a purifier. And it'll purify who's in your circle, how you go and attack the next big challenge, and who you rely on. And when you go through that purifier a few times, failure, you're not afraid of it anymore because you know the people that are around you are going to be there, whether you win or lose.
So with that, what type of, when you put on that I'm going to succeed, hell or high water filter, how many people fell through the cracks or how many people fell out of the circle? Did you kind of see a change in who you hung around, the shared mindset. What type of filter did that have or effect on family and friends when you went down this path?
Yeah, a fairly significant filter, actually. It amazes me how many people they're around to watch you fail. And when you take a step to say, I'm okay with failing, and you fail, they get upset that you're not broken and hurt and devastated about it. And now it becomes, well, I'm going to go back and try this again, but a different way, because I learned a massive amount through the failure. And I think I can be successful if I go left on turn number 3 instead of right. And and I use that word generally, right. The haters.
If they say if you ain't got none, you ain't doing something right.
The most frustrating thing they can see is when they think that you should be down, devastated, and lost, that you're happy, back in it, fighting for success again.
Rewind and then press forward. That's where the whole name of this came from.
Exactly.
Due to all past failures, you still keep pressing forward.
Exactly.
People will put more energy into destroying you or they could be wasting this time that they're putting into you on themselves. And that's crazy. That's the catalyst. That's the energy they need to be successful, which is not even success. It's just looking out for revenge or spite or whatever, where life is truly, truly, I didn't realize how life was short until I got into my 50s.
Wow.
And I don't think about what am I going to do next summer. I think about how many summers do I have left.
Yeah. What comedian was that? Was it Deion Cole who said we got, when you hit 40s, you got maybe 30 summers left?
That's where I got it from. He said it, and I was like, wait a minute, man. And it seemed like these summers are coming faster and faster. It's like, it's going to be cold for like 3 weeks. And then boom, it's 110 again down here in Dallas. And I'm like, wait a minute. We just, like COVID, think about COVID was 4 years ago already.
I know.
Gone.
I know.
Here and gone. I don't know what the next disaster is coming, but that's already gone. So time is ticking. After when I hit 50, these birthdays are coming every 3 months. I don't know about y'all got 12, but my joints are hitting like every 3 months. It's like boom, bam, bam, bam. So it's what harm is there in actually going after something that you don't know? You don't know. What is the thing they said? If you don't keep trying, most people quit right before that success happens. You know, how do you balance family? So now you were 16 hours a day at AWS, and now, as we know, sometimes when you work for yourself, you work harder than you did at your other job. How do you work out the work-life balance now with your new venture?
I've never subscribed to the philosophy of work-life balance. I don't think there's balance. I think there's priority moments where you have to prioritize family over work, and then vice versa, plain and simple. With that said, because I'm not doing 16-hour days, I get more time to actually prioritize family, which, look, I got a 23-year-old and a 19-year-old. My 23-year-old's about to graduate from college. And
already?
Yeah.
See, I remember when he went to school. That's what I'm saying. Wow. Time goes fast, man.
And so right now, as much as he's a mama's boy, he needs dad. And he needs dad to say, hey, this is going to hurt, but take this swift kick in the butt because I need you going in the right direction, because now is the time. And I try to explain to him, you got between graduation to about 28 to go explore careers. And I told him that doesn't mean you pick a career and you sit down and you do that for the rest of your life knowing you hate it. That means you pick a career in 9 months to 12 months. If you're not really feeling this, you move on to something else. Because by the time you're 30, you need to be leaning into your 10,000 hours.
There you go.
And so I need to give you swift kicks, because right now this generation is, I'm okay here because I can sit back and watch TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat for 4 hours and then do 4 hours of work and everybody's happy. I need him focused on, how do I actually have something that's going to make me happy long term?
Right.
How can I be successful long term? How can I experience the life that my dad has given me? My boys have experienced living in London. We lived there in 2018. They've experienced living in Japan. They've experienced visiting Mexico City, Toronto, all these places, all the insight, the worldly views they have. And I don't want that experience for my boys to stop when they move out of my house. I want them to be able to continue to do that for themselves and then their kids as well.
You know, the thing is, too, and I tell my kids, as much as you guys consume this stuff, you don't realize how much work some of these professional YouTubers and TikTokers and all that stuff, you're not even going to have the dexterity to put the amount of grind it is to create the material you watch.
Yep.
You don't realize it is. Now, football they got. They get it. They both put on the football helmets. They see it. Like I said, I literally am going to make my 16-year-old start wearing his football helmet around the house because I think that's the only time he listens. When that helmet comes on, his brain clicks to a yes, sir side. He takes the helmet off, and I don't know what the hell he's doing. He walking around bumping into walls like a rope. Anyway.
But don't let that go, because that selective listening is something that when you hit that rewind, fast forward, we all, as I think grown men, have to go back and revisit. Because I hate to say it, my boys same way, right? There's certain football for them, karate, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, sports-wise, they would always listen because they knew if I don't listen, the potential ramifications of me getting physically hurt.
Yeah, true.
But at the same time, when the helmet wasn't on, and I would tell them good stuff, like, hey, tomorrow I'm going to do blah, blah, blah for you. They managed to always hear that. But they didn't hear, hey, I would like you to mop the floor. It's that selective hearing.
Yes.
And
yes.
as I got older and more frustrated with their selective hearing, my significant other gave me that swift kick to say, I wonder where they get it from. When I pressed pause on corporate America, I realized one thing that I had that corporate America allows you to have is develop a really strong skill for selective hearing. Because in corporate America, there's a lot of things that are thrown at you word-wise that you don't need to hear. You don't need to take action on. You can ignore it and move on.
Right.
But when you shift and now family is the primary focus, the top priority, your family doesn't give you that much time to throw things at you that you can ignore. And so my selective hearing changed drastically. Now I listen a lot more, and I ask questions like, hey, whoa, you just said, do you want me to do something on that? Like, because in the past I would have heard that and be like, and continue to drink my coffee and went to my desk. But it changes and it shifts, because that same muscle that you build with selective hearing for family is the same muscle now that I'm exercising as far as how I engage with customers for Herf Harmony. Because no longer do I have the luxury of having a customer tell me something and I can pick the pieces that I want to act on. I got to listen to it all.
So with that, why don't you break down, what have you learned about cigar enthusiasts that do like the model of a subscription service? When you said you heard and you started listening, what exactly are you hearing that's letting you fill the gaps that people are looking for in the world of cigars?
Yeah. Well, first off, tenured cigar smokers probably aren't my customers.
Okay.
When you've been smoking for years upon years, you develop a particular taste, and you don't want to be introduced to new cigars. You like what you like. My customers are primarily folks who are either open to wanting to learn more or are at the very beginning of their cigar journey. Now, they say you should never recommend a cigar to a person, which I have experienced both sides of that, where someone recommended a cigar to me and it was absolutely horrible per my taste preference, and I've recommended cigars to others and they thought it was horrible. So you really can't recommend. You need to allow a person to actually navigate their own cigar journey. And so the biggest thing I've learned is, if you're going to recommend a stick for me, you need to have a full understanding of what I like and what I really, really like.
Now, is that based on personality? Is that based on tasting elements? How do you actually figure out what somebody likes?
Yeah, right now I'm basing it on tasting elements.
Okay.
But what I'm finding is their taste preference, most smokers, their taste preference is actually influenced by the environment as well. And so that's why the idea of Herf, getting people together to smoke together, there's Friday afternoon, I will start with a Connecticut wrapper, something light. But Saturday evening, when the party's on, I'm going to do something dark, a Ligero wrapper that's a little stronger. My environment helps dictate what I want to smoke at that time. And so what I do with Herf is I actually break down the components of the cigar, the wrapper, the binder, the filler, where those components were actually grown, what the spices are in the cigar. And then I ask the member, what's your favorite cigar? And then also, what do you normally smoke? So if your favorite cigar is a Padron, but you normally smoke something that's more full body, bold, great. What I'm going to send you in the box is going to try to touch both of those as much as possible. The beauty of what we do, because it is an AI model, is we take that feedback. And that's probably where we listen the greatest amount of time, where our members come back and say, you know what? You sent me 4 cigars in that box. 3 of them, spot on. Never would have tried them before, but they were exactly what I love. This 4th one, don't like it. And here's why I don't like it. And then we update the model, retrain the model based on that feedback.
So it sounds like you've pivoted into another career, but I hear a lot of your old background coming into play.
Yeah. Look, my background and my experience is actually of value to that next career, right? I wish I can, and I don't know many people who completely throw away their experience and their background as they move to that next career.
Right.
They look for something that allows their experience and their background to give them an opportunity, and maybe even an advantage in the next thing.
What advice would you give somebody in the second half of their life about executing or planning that pivot, that turnaround, that time? Say, hey man, yesterday was my last day. I can't do this anymore, but I've got this great idea.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give that person?
Yeah, I would tell you there's a concept that AWS and Amazon overall really drove into myself, and I think most Amazonians who work there. And it's this concept of MVP, minimum viable product. I would tell you, if you financially can make a pivot and push something out of the door based on your great idea earlier than later, do it. I think quite often we come up with this great idea and we sit on it, chew on it, maybe even kind of tinkle with it and all, trying to make it perfect before we push it out the door. And the reality is it never will be perfect. But the more you wait to actually execute and deliver, the less your chances are of success. And so I would say, if you have that idea and you can go ahead and make that pivot, even if you have to keep your day job while you start working on this pivot, do it and get it out of the door. Get your trusted advisors, the people that will tell you when your poo doesn't smell like roses,
right?
And get them to actually have some exposure to what you're doing, what you're building, and to take that feedback and then prioritize that feedback. These are the things that I need to do before I push it out the door. These are the things that I'll do after I push my MVP out the door. But you got to get it out the door.
Man, right there. That is the whole entire recap of everything. I don't think we even need the other 20, 30 minutes to happen before that, because you just said it right there. Larry, I'd like to appreciate your time coming out and actually helping somebody understand clarity, because that's really the point I wanted to press. I wanted to push on when you do have to make a pivot, or when you decide to make a pivot, how do you get clear? Now, everybody, you don't have to go to LA to the observatory, but I think a little bit of meditation and listening, it would come to you. But the MVP, that's just definitely the crown jewel of everything. So I will make sure that we put a link to Herf Harmony in the description below. Please hit the like button, subscribe. We appreciate you. So until the next episode, this is Rewind and Press Forward. We appreciate y'all. Till next time.
Thank you.